Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this third clip of the today's session, we will discuss about the ferromagnetic solids. So the first point about the ferromagnetic solid is that like paramagnets, and like antiferromagnets, these solids also have at least one type of atom in them which are magnetic atoms. In other words, these ferromagnetic solids also have permanent dipoles in them. But unlike paramagnets, in which these dipoles were randomly oriented, and antiferromagnetic solids, in which these magnetic dipoles were antiparallel aligned. In the case of ferromagnetic solids, the permanent dipoles are arranged parallel to each other. The neighboring dipoles are parallel to each other. Or in other words, you can say the magnetic coupling between the neighboring dipoles is positive. They are parallel to each other. This neighboring the magnetic coupling between the neighboring dipoles is positive and strong. This strong mean this is very hard to make these neighboring dipoles random from each other. So you require a very high temperature to make these neighboring dipoles free from the effect of each other. Unlike paramagnets and antiferromagnets, the internal magnetization of the solid, say for a single domain, it is not equal to 0 even in the absence of the external magnetic field. This was 0 for paramagnets and antiferromagnets in the absence of the external magnetic field. But in this case, it is not 0. However, this is for a single domain, and about we see in next slides about the concept of domains that will be constructed gradually in different steps. If we talk about the whole solid, this is the single domain now. And if we talk about the whole solid, this net magnetic moment of the solid, in which there are many domains, it can be 0 or it cannot be 0. We will see this point in details in the next discussion. Number 3, in external magnetic field, when the external magnetic field is applied, the magnetic dipole or the magnetization of the solid increases, and the ferromagnetic susceptibility is positive. That is the ratio of the internal magnetization to the external plus internal magnetization, that is positive, and it is very large as compared to all the solids. Antiferromagnets and paramagnets, when compared with these ferromagnetic solids, this for the ferromagnetic susceptibility, it is very large and positive. Here is an important question for you people, that what does happen after removal of the external magnetic field. So this is different, of course, for the ferromagnetics. In case of antiferromagnets and paramagnets, when you remove this external magnetic field, this magnetization again becomes 0, because figure 4 reverts to figure 3. And in case of paramagnets, again when you removed the external magnetic field, the internal magnetization of the solid becomes 0, because the situation reverts to figure 1 from figure 2. But this case will be different for ferromagnetic solids, we will see in the next discussions. Before we go to a detailed discussion about this important class of the magnetic materials, we will conclude about the ferromagnetic material that the ferromagnetic susceptibility is not constant with the strength of the applied magnetic field. This is again different from the antiferromagnetic and the paramagnetic solids. Whatever the strength of the external magnetic field before the saturation point, the antiferromagnetic susceptibility and the paramagnetic susceptibility were constant. But in case of ferromagnetic solids, this is not constant, and this changes with the strength of the applied magnetic field. The susceptibility of the ferromagnetic solid is not constant with the temperature. Okay, this was not constant was paramagnets. This was not constant for antiferromagnets, but it is different. It is a complex function of temperature. For paramagnets, it was simple. It was decreasing with temperature. For antiferromagnetic, it was simple. It was increasing with temperature. But in case of ferromagnets, this is not simple. This is a complex function of temperature. And above T is equal to Tc, the Curie temperature. This critical temperature in case of antiferromagnet solids was Néel temperature, and in case of ferromagnetic solids, this is Curie temperature. Above Curie temperature, the ferromagnetic solid transforms to a paramagnetic state. इस फिगर को अगर देखें तो क्यूरी टेम्परेचर से ऊपर ये तमाम की तमाम मैग्नेटिक डाइपोल्स आपस में रैंडमली ओरिएंटेड हो जाएंगे, और ये स्टेट होगी फिगर नंबर 1 वाली, जिसमें तमाम की तमाम नेबरिंग या तमाम की तमाम जो डाइपोल्स हैं वो रैंडमली ओरिएंटेड हैं. एंड दिस इज़ अ प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ द पैरामैग्नेटिक सॉलिड्स. सो यू कैन से that above Tc the system transformed to a paramagnetic states, and the paramagnetic susceptibility for a ferromagnetic material above Tc follows this equation number 4, and this equation number 4 is different from the paramagnetic susceptibility. That was simply C over T, and it is different from the for the antiferromagnetic solids. That was T over T plus theta. It is T over T minus say Tc or theta, whatever. That theta was temperature, this Tc is a temperature. Here we see in ferromagnetic solid the concept of domains, which is necessary to explain the ferromagnetic state. So before we are actually concluding some things, here in this slide we will conclude a graphical review of the comparison between paramagnets, antiferromagnets and ferromagnets. First of all, we see that paramagnets have their susceptibility given by C over T, and this is graphically shown here. You increase the temperature, the susceptibility decreases. However, in antiferromagnetic susceptibility, antiferromagnets susceptibility has two regions. One is below Tn, where this system is antiferromagnetic, and one is above Tn, where this system is paramagnetic. In antiferromagnetic region, the susceptibility increases with the increase in temperature, becomes maximum at T is equal to Tn, and then in the antiferromagnetic region it decreases. Here you can see this decreases by T C over T minus T theta, and this T minus theta, and this equation is much different from this equation, and in next slide we will see the difference. In case of ferromagnetic solids, the susceptibility is again divided into two regions. One is the region below Tc, that is the ferromagnetic region, and one is the region above Tc, which is the paramagnetic region. Below Tc, the system has a complex function or the complex variation of the ferromagnetic susceptibility. However, above Tc, the system has a paramagnetic susceptibility that is C over T plus T theta. This is different from these two. So here you can see the paramagnetic susceptibility for a ferromagnetic material decreases with the increase in temperature above Tc. If we want to see the effect of these C over T minus theta over C over T plus theta, the difference between these three equations, we have to draw the reciprocal of the susceptibility in the paramagnetic regions for the three solids. Here it is shown in figure 9. This is the temperature axis and this is the reciprocal susceptibility. For paramagnetic solids, the susceptibility decreases with the increase in temperature, and this line is a straight line which passes through the origin. At 0 Kelvin, the susceptibility becomes maximum, or 1 over x becomes 0. However, for antiferromagnetic solids whose equation is C over T minus T theta, this susceptibility above Tn, this line is drawn from the susceptibility above Tn, and if you extrapolate this curve, it will intersect the horizontal axis or the temperature axis at negative side, or it will intersect the 1 over x axis at positive side. So this is T theta, this point is T theta. But if you draw the ferromagnetic susceptibility in the paramagnetic region, you can see this intersects the horizontal axis on the positive side of the temperature. So if you have two solids, one is antiferromagnetic, ferromagnetic, or even paramagnetic, you have different solid. You have a solid and you don't know which type of solid it is. If you draw the reciprocal of the susceptibility, its behavior will be like paramagnets, or it will be like antiferromagnets, or it will be like ferromagnets. Any of the behavior will make you differentiate that which type of solids you have. I left a question for you people, that why do we need to draw susceptibility as shown in figure 9. The answer, although I have given some indication, anyhow it is left for your exercise, and if someone come with the true answer, it is really appreciable. So this is the part 1 of our session about the magnetic materials. In the next session we will see about the part 2 that will be specific to the ferromagnetic solids.